60 Minutes Rewind.
Seldom, if ever, in history have winners been as generous towards losers as the new leaders of South Africa have been towards the men who inflicted apartheid on them. Men like Dirk Coetzee, a former captain in the regime's secret security police. Certainly one of the most racist and repressive of our time. But when Nelson Mandela and his colleagues overthrew that system, anyone who expected retribution or war crimes trials was disappointed. Instead, the new democratically elected government set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And what it's about is forgiving. Forgiving even Dirk Coetzee, who's been telling the commission harrowing tales about how he and his men dealt with blacks who opposed apartheid.
Knockout drops was administered, and as soon as the guy fell over, he was shot at point blank.
Do you remember what went through your mind when you watch a 23-year-old kid drop over and then get shot in the head?
It was a job that had to be done. It was the enemy, one of the enemy that had to be taken out and had to be dealt with. And someone had to do the job, and we were there to do the job.
Or was it just another day's work?
Another day's work, basically, yes.
Say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Vance.
That's the same story Coetzee told the commission. In 9 months of hearings, the revelations of government-sanctioned mass murders and atrocities have shocked even the people who thought they knew what apartheid was all about.
They had pulled all his hair out. Then they pulled his tongue out. Then they went about cutting his fingers off.
They attached electrodes to my private parts. Those electric shocks tore my private parts to pieces.
The mechanics of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission are revolutionary and astonishing. Here's how it works. Victims tell their stories of atrocities which were literally unspeakable under the old regime. Then the perpetrators get a chance to own up to their crimes and by doing so, become eligible for amnesty. All they have to do is tell the truth. They don't even have to say they're sorry. No apologies, no remorse, and no justice.
Then it divulged to me that Sizo was missing.
Charity Kandila came before the commission to speak of her son, her late son, a 23-year-old law student. He just disappeared one day, and for 9 years she heard nothing about him. Then Dirk Coetzee spoke out because he was there when the boy was tortured and shot. He was there when they did what they'd done many times before. To destroy the evidence, they dragged the body to a fire.
And it is eventually set alight, and the remains has got to be turned over frequently during the night, 7 to 9 hours until there was no chunks left the next morning.
7 to 9 hours to burn a body. And what do you do, sit around and chat during that time?
We were sitting around having a barbecue and drinking.
And every once in a while somebody would get up and turn the body around?
That's correct, yes.
Was it just like an ordinary barbecue, or did the presence of a dead man whose body was being turned around so it would be turned into ashes, did the presence of this dead man on a fire next to you affect the atmosphere of the evening?
Not at all. Not at all.
You could have been at home with a few buddies in your back.
Having a bride down, that's correct, yeah.
In the 1980s, Dirk Coetzee was the manager of what appeared to be a farm just outside Pretoria. It's called Blokplaas, and it was, in fact, the top-secret headquarters of the regime's death squads. There's never been a farm anything like it, anywhere in the world. It's green, quiet, and lovely.
Green, quiet, and lovely. One would never say atrocities like what went on could have happened in this nice spot, is it?
What went on here?
Well, murders were planned from here, execution of activists, opponents of the government, apartheid government, stealing of vehicles, blowing up of buildings, raids into neighboring countries.
Dirk Coetzee was no rogue cop. He was running hit teams which were organized and sanctioned by the highest echelons of the South African regime. And that's all he has to prove to become eligible for amnesty, that the murders had a political motivation. What you were growing on the farm were atrocities.
It was only atrocities, nothing else.
You guys were playing God.
We were God.
Maka, do you solemnly swear that the evidence...
But their godhood has been lifted by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is headed by Nobel laureate Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He's conducting it more as a confessor than an inquisitor, and sometimes the testimony has proven to be even more than he can bear. But he insists the process is not only necessary, but even-handed. White people who suffered at the hands of Nelson Mandela's movement, the ANC, are also invited to testify.
Do you know, Mr. Chairman, what it's like to pick up some of your 8-year-old son's brain and to have to bury it?
And the black guerrillas responsible for these acts are invited to apply for amnesty. So right now you sense a national catharsis.
It's happening. It's not easy to open wounds. It's very painful. But if you don't want them to fester, you must open them and cleanse them and then pour balm on them.
Archbishop, you are a man of the cloth.
Thank you for reminding me, yes.
Don't you think that granting a murderer amnesty, which is a form of forgiveness, even if he doesn't repent, don't you think this is carrying Christianity a bit too far?
Christianity has always been a religion that takes risks. We are saying people who have committed horrendous acts, demonic acts, monstrous acts, are not monsters, are not demons. They remain human beings. We don't say that because you are a perpetrator, therefore you remain a perpetrator forever. We say that there is the possibility of changing.
Try that one on Charity Kandila, the mother of the boy who was killed and burned by Coetzee.
Looks almost certain that Dirk Coetzee will be getting amnesty from your government.
I suspect so.
What do you think about that?
Imagine some people are in jail for stealing the chocolate. And now men who have committed such crimes will be given amnesty. I mean, that is ridiculous, unbelievable.
Churchill Makenge is so unwilling to forgive Dirk Coetzee that he challenged the Commission's power to do so in the highest court in the land. Makenge's brother Griffiths, a prominent anti-apartheid lawyer, was killed, stabbed 45 times by Coetzee's men in 1981. Griffiths' wife Victoria, another activist, was shot dead 4 years later. A few weeks ago, after a memorial service, they were laid to rest properly, serenaded by the voices of the struggle. It was Coetzee's confession which finally revealed to the Makenge family how Griffiths died, and Coetzee came to the commission to offer what he called a pathetic apology for his murders, saying he feels genuinely repentant. But that doesn't satisfy Churchill Makenge. He doesn't want truth and reconciliation. He wants truth and consequences. And because of the Truth Commission, which Archbishop Tutu heads, justice is not being done.
It's not being done. So that's why I feel Coetzee deserves to hang. You know.
He deserves to hang.
To hang. If there's one mistake that was ever made by this government, was abolishing hanging. He deserves to hang.
Churchill Makenge thinks he should hang. Can you understand where he's coming from?
I don't blame him for that. Probably I would have had exactly the same outlook.
Why should Dirk Coetzee get amnesty? Does he deserve it?
It depends on from what side you argue about it, because it's not only myself. There's thousands of us.
Thousands?
Yes, thousands, and still in the police force up till this day, occupying senior positions in the police. So if you don't give Dirk amnesty and hanging, hang them all.
The story will continue after this.
Driven by a fear of prosecution, those thousands are pouring forth now, rushing into law offices to file amnesty applications. Not only captains like Coetzee, but young foot soldiers with that age-old defense. They were just obeying orders.
I didn't lie in my bed one night and decide, oh, tomorrow I'm going to start killing activists. No, the political leaders sanctioned this stuff, and I was just a man on the ground.
A man on the ground like Paul Van Vuren, who agreed to be interviewed in the presence of his lawyer, Willem Brits. How many people did you kill?
I can't remember the exact amount, but it's quite a lot.
10, 20, 100, 200?
Roundabout. Roundabout between 20 and 40.
Between 20 and 40 people.
Yes.
But there was more. Next came one of the darkest secrets of the dirty war. Van Vuren told us the police killed blacks in ways to make it look like the murders were committed not by the hit squads, but by black revolutionaries of the ANC. That meant bombs, electrocutions, and necklacing. That's putting a burning tire around a victim's neck.
Sometimes we use the landmine to blow people up, and sometimes we use a necklace.
He never used a necklace.
No, we did once.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's just, sorry, but that was
Okay.
just for a body. To get rid. The guy was already
Okay,
dead
but-
when they
Yeah.
put a tie around him. That was a normal way of the ANC.
And he's saying he did a necklacing, and you're saying that the guy was dead before
No,
he
we
was
strangled
necklaced.
the guy before he was dead.
Ah.
We strangled him to death, and then we put it so it looked like the ANC killed their own people. Or not.
Paul Van Vuren is not appearing before the commission to express a remorse he doesn't feel, but simply to save his skin. Still, he feels victimized by the commission. So do most members of the security establishment, from the privates all the way to General Constant Viljoen, former chief of the South African Defense Forces. He insists he was serving God and country and calls the commission a witch hunt.
It is clear to me that this is a way of applying the legislation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission towards vilifying a group of people such as my people.
The war was won by the ANC. And instead of putting you on trial and shooting everyone who was in uniform or everyone who was anywhere close to a military action or to an atrocity, they're offering you amnesty, and yet you're calling it a witch hunt.
No, it is a witch hunt.
A witch hunt. That's how they see it. And that's why you see very few white faces in any of the hearings. That's why many whites dismiss the whole business contemptuously as the Kleenex Commission.
I truly feel the Truth Commission should be awarded the Granny Award for the greatest comedy of the year, and a total waste of money.
That's also why Archbishop Tutu spends much of his time on the air trying to convince these whites simply to listen.
I don't think we want to make any apology if white people in this country are alienated by it. Tough luck, I think. We are hoping that white people will, when they hear these stories, say, isn't it incredible? Aren't we lucky that black people are not wanting to treat us as we treated them? I'm saying, white people, please, can you hear the generosity that is being offered you? Can you hear our people saying, despite the agony that you have caused us, we want to be friends with you?
In recent weeks, the Truth Commission has dug up deeply buried secrets of how some of South Africa's most illustrious anti-apartheid activists were assassinated by agents of the regime. And in coming months, the Commission's expected to reveal that covert campaigns which led to murders and massacres were known and in some cases authorized by former Presidents P.W. Botha and F.W. de Klerk.